Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Today we're looking at Bhagavad Gita as it is. We'll read it together. The transliteration and the translations. Chapter 6, starting with text 19. And we'll read 11 verses, so we'll go through 629. Together. Yatta dipo nivastato nengate sopamashmita yogino yatta chittasya yunjato yogam atmanaha. Translation. As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist, whose mind is controlled, remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. Text 20 through 23. Yatro paramate chitam nirudam yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyan atmani tushyati sukham atyantikam yat tad bodhi gayam atindriyam veti yatra nachaiva yam stitas chalati tatvataha yam labva chaparam labham manyate nadhikam tatam yasmin stito nadukena guru napi vichalyate tam vidya dukha samyoga viyogam yoga samjitam. Translation. The stage of perfection is called trance or samadhi when one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness and enjoys himself through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. Text 24. Sa nischayena yoktavyo yogo nirvina chetasya sankalpa prabhavan kamas tyaktva sarvan asheshataha manasaivindriya gramam viniyam yasamantataha. Translation. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with undeviating determination and faith. One should abandon, without exception, all material desires born of false ego, and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Text 25. Shanai Shiner Uparamed Bodhya Driti Grihitaya Atma Samstamana Kritva Na Kinchid Api Chintayat. Translation. Gradually, step by step, with full conviction, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. Text 26. Yato yato nischalati manas chanchalam astiram tatas tato niyam yaitad atmanyeva vasham nayat. Translation. From whatever and wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. Text 27. Prashanta manasam hyenam yoginam sukham uttamam upaiti shantarajasam brahma bhutam akalmasham. Translation. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest happiness. By virtue of his identity with Brahman, he is liberated, his mind is peaceful, his passions are quieted, and he is freed from sin. Text 28. Yunjan evam sadatmanam yogi Vigata kalmasha sukhena brahma samsparsham atyantam sukham ashnute. Translation: steady in the self, being freed from all material contamination, the yogi achieves the highest perfectional stage of happiness in touch with the supreme consciousness. Text 29. Sarva bhutastam atmanam sarva bhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yukta atma sarvatra samadarshanaha. Translation: a true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized man sees me everywhere. Back to text 19. I'll read the translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Text 19. As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist, whose mind is controlled, remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. Purport: a truly Krishna conscious person, always absorbed in transcendence, in constant undisturbed meditation on his worshipable Lord, is as steady as a lamp in a windless place. So a lamp in a windless place, it's a sign of a well-built structure, right? Because like if it's airtight, the lamp, the flame won't flicker too much. And so it's a sign of a good housing. And so, you know, so we try to purify so we can make our minds flickerless. We can try to purify our bodies and our thoughts, and that will help. That will help a lot. And so Krishna is talking about meditation and what is the greatest meditation, of the successful yogi. It's meditation on Krishna. That's the highest meditation. What is the goal of meditation? It's meditating on Lord Sri Krishna. And the neophyte yogi engages in fruitive sitting postures, and the advanced yogi just works without attachment, keeping the mind on Krishna. Arjuna says here that the main difficulty of meditation is controlling the mind. And Sri Krishna says it can be overcome through constant practice and determination. Constant practice and meditation. So he's not saying it's instant. It takes some time, like text 25, Shanai Shanair. This is gradually, step by step. So step by step process. You climb the mountain, just one, rock climber talks about you get your footing, you get stable, and then you just do one, you go up a little bit at a time, very carefully, and then you keep climbing the mountain like that. Make sure that you're safe, and you just keep climbing up the mountain, Shanai Shanai, gradually, step by step. And eventually we can become Mad Gantanantir Atmana, thinking of Lord Sri Krishna from within, like the highest yogis do. And so we're talking these 11 verses talk a lot about yoga, mastering the senses, right? Like gradually, step by step, with full conviction, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. From whatever and wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. So we're talking about mastering the senses, and also talking a lot about yoga. Yoga means to unite, union. We're trying to connect with Sri Krishna our maker and the Lord of everything, the supreme personality of Godhead. It doesn't get any higher than that. So we have so much information about Krishna and God in this movement. And not everyone has that kind of information. So a curious person says, if a person is very spiritual and very curious, they want to know about God. They want to know about Krishna. What does he look like? What is he like to eat? Is he a person? Yes, he is. And so it's called non-sectarian philosophy because it's for everybody, right? Krishna created everybody, and Krishna wants the best for everybody. And there's one God for everybody. There's one. And so he wants the best for everybody. And so we want to give this to everybody. So that's where we have to be a little creative sometimes and thinking about, how to get it to everybody and where they're at and how to make them feel like winners with their Krishna consciousness, with wherever they're at, and we encourage people to someone might say, "Oh, I'm a Muslim," or I'm a Christian. This isn't for me, or I'm an atheist, an agnostic, a Satanist. What we encourage everyone to come. If you're a Satanist, if you're an atheist, if you're read by reading these books, by reading Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, you can keep that. You can keep that if you like, and you can learn about all these about the demons and about what they do and where they live, and there's something here for everybody. And what other philosophy is inviting, everybody? Who else is inviting atheists and Satanists and Muslims and Christians all to one place? It has to be a non-sectarian philosophy because that way, because everyone can add this. We just want them to add a little bit to their life. Even if, the president of the United States, we probably can't get him to shave up and join a temple and live in it, right? But we don't necessarily want him to quit his job anyway. It's like, just add, if everyone could add, think if the president could just chant for 5 minutes a day, how different would the world be if the president of the US chanted 5 minutes a day, or even 1 minute, even 1 minute. That's what we want. We need everyone to start by just chant 1 minute. If all seven, how many people now is it? 8 billion. If all 8 billion people could just chant for a minute a day, the whole world would be completely beautified and transformed. So we need to meet them where they're at. And the very special ones can really devote a lot of time. But even the ones that can't devote too much time, we want to give them a little bit of Krishna consciousness, show them how to do it with where they're at, even if they're upadis that they're identifying with, their material designations. We just want them to chant a little bit, and we want them to feel good and not feel competitive, sometimes people sometimes get a little intimidated. They might turn away when someone sees someone that's super elevated, and they might say, "Gosh, it would take me so long to get what they have. I'll quit." No, it's everyone's on their own path. You don't have to compete with anybody. Just compete with yourself. Draw inspiration from other people, but know that Krishna wants you on his team. You're actually already on the team, but Krishna wants everybody on the team. And so there's no one that gets turned away. So it's really exciting to think that we have a chance to help bit by bit, person by person, help transform the world into a better place. That's why we're here. We didn't like so many of the things we were seeing out there, and the relationships, the fractured nature. We were driving today. We see all these little houses. You see so many houses. Sometimes I'm overwhelmed by how many houses. And these houses are just, if they're not utilized for becoming self-realized and God conscious, these are houses of just sense gratification. And everyone's got their little, these houses are designed for personal sense gratification, for people to kind of nestle away in their own little place, and and just that way they can privately do their sense gratification, because the dogs are willing to do things in the street, but a lot of people, they'll do it behind closed doors and things like that. But these houses, there's so many houses, so much cost. How much cost has gone into these houses? How much upkeep in these houses, and how many years of paying off these houses? And what if there was another way? What if that's just the way that we were given, and we don't necessarily need to there's an alternative way of life, and maybe we shouldn't all be so secluded. Maybe we should all maybe work together a little more, maybe live a little more in a place where we can work on things together. And so we have to try to keep striving. And even if I do live in a house, just transform your house into Krishna's house, transform it into a temple. You get some very nice books from Srila Prabhupada, and do some things like that. Put up things on the wall so you're constantly seeing Krishna and his associates and his pastimes. And it's not so difficult. It's just a little bit every day, and it's a really fun process, actually. And um, let's see here. And we try to see everyone equally, um, whether all people, over time we can start to really see everyone equal, whether it's a human body, animal body, tree body, or insect, but trying to see the super soul within everyone, and then seeing everyone within the super soul. So this eightfold Ashtanga yoga system, um, acting in Krishna consciousness, is better than the eightfold system. And because it's simpler, and some people are sitting down and doing yogic sitting postures, and not everyone can do that, but everyone can chant the Hare Krishna mantra. And that's the method for this age. And the yogi must know that yielding to the mind will destroy the tranquility. And it's a long process, but the chanting is very practical. And then, Govardhan Hill recently, is such a wonderful pastime, because Govardhan Hill, of course, it proves Sri Krishna's supremacy and his unlimited uh, abilities. But it also shows how, if you're Krishna's devotee, he will protect you. That's his promise, is if you're with him, you're protected. He can do amazing things. He's proving that he can do amazing things just to protect his devotees. He can move a mountain. And to protect his beloved devotees. And so just add Krishna consciousness where you're at, and a little bit, just start reading every day. And let's see here. Okay, we're getting really close to the end of class today, but does anyone have any questions or comments to kind of put a cap on things? Jai Keshava Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I was thinking of the mantras you introduced in these new mantras, no more one time. And then also now we have uh, just 1 minute, just 1 minute of chanting, right? We just want 1 minute. And then one thing that I wanted to comment on was the text 20 through 23. in the end it says, this indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. This samadhi, this trance we can get into practicing Krishna consciousness. And I was thinking of how much of a word like freedom is, and how, it's used in our country, the United States, I guess, and how people are just trying to get free from miseries, right? They want freedom to practice their own religion, freedom of the press, freedom of this discrimination, or freedom of that. But ultimately, we get the real meaning of freedom in the Bhagavad Gita here, which is rising above these miseries and becoming situated in Krishna consciousness. So, thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Shri Shri Gauranatai, Ki Jai. Bhagavad Gita as it is, Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai.